Welcome back, everyone, and welcome to those who are here for the first time. We have the pleasure of continuing with the next session around the future of fashion. But before I do so, there was two things this summer that will profoundly change our lives. The democratization of AI and a very hot summer across Europe, the warmest ever. Both will profoundly change our designs and our lives for the future, and so I believe. My name is Jesper Schleimann. I work as the Strategy and Innovation Director for SAP in Northern Europe, and we have a special focus on sustainable innovations. And you may ask yourself, what does a company like SAP, who does financial and enterprise systems and design, do here? Well, maybe consider the fact that 208 out of the world's top 250 fashion brands all run their operating model and their business leveraging SAP, from everything from design to building, manufacturing, and so on. And it's an important topic because fashion and clothing stands for about 4% of global greenhouse gas emissions. And yet they also contribute quite seriously to plastic microfibers, with less than 1% of all clothing being reused. Actually, and even if you look a bit back, between 2000 and 2015, global clothing production doubled. And still, the use of clothing actually decreased by 37%. So companies behind this actually wants to do good. The good news is about half of companies have some kind of circular program inside. But only about a third have actually put their words behind it and publicly declared support towards it. And even worse, only about 1/6 are actually measuring the true impact. I think the solution to a lot of this also lies in the leveraging intelligent digital technologies to help businesses redesign, restore, remanufacture, and reuse products. So hopefully, when companies work in the future, they will be able to manage their designs not merely with financial terms and KPIs, but also with sustainability terms. And that is our vision, and therefore we are hoping to increase the collaboration around shared standards so we can scale sustainable designs all the way across the value chain. You heard, maybe if you were here before lunch, about the future of trainers, and now we'll hear from another great speaker. It's my great pleasure to introduce Randa Kherba, a designer and also a bit like me, an entrepreneur, consulting in material and innovations development. She has a special focus on athletic wear, performance and functionality, a background in menswear design, and currently is looking into bio-alternatives for materials. So let's give her a big hand and welcome her on stage.
Thank you, Jesper, for the introduction. I'd like to use this time to talk through my journey of how I got to circularity. I've got a background in menswear, but really, you'll see. So, I've always believed garments should serve as an extension of the body. It means it should have the performance quality to assist you, the wearer, to live in. And a lot of my work focuses on extreme conditions. In particular, the Arctic. I feel like if anyone knows me, I have quite the obsession with ice and snow. And that is really because it is the ultimate form of extreme conditions for me. So this is seeped into my world of design and my design DNA. It came from nights of binging on ice road truckers and seeing these communities live and wearing normal workwear in these environments, and ultimately surviving in these environments. I'm sure most of you remember this moment on Everest, people queuing up forming these mountains thanks to the amazing Sherpas democratizing these high-altitude peaks. All for a selfie at the highest point of the world, which is quite insane, but what they don't show you is the waste on these high-altitude mountains. And most of it is caused from these amateur climbers who need a lighter descent coming down. So in order to avoid carrying extra weight going down, they choose to leave their gear up the mountains, which is really heartbreaking because such a high mountain, it's hard to carry that waste back down. And as a result of this issue, we have high-altitude cleanup initiatives, cleaning up the mess left from these climbers. This sparked my project, which I'm going to talk to you about, called ALGEAR. So this is a bio-alternative to constructing outdoor gear. I propose a future where outdoor gear that protects us from the elements can be created and produced with elements that have been left behind, or from elements that are abundant to us. This project harnesses the growth of cyanobacteria. This is a blue-green algae, which is among one of the oldest known phototropic organisms. What that means is it's photosynthetic and can adapt to stressful conditions. So it's very easy to grow, and stressing the conditions, you're able to control times at which you can grow this material. Here you can see its filamentous. What does that mean? It's able to grow fiber-like, in a fiber-like manner. They can organically grow a structure, whether that's a biofilm or on top of an agar, which you'll see in agar petri dish, you're able to control a biofilm in that state. And many of these species form complex-like, three-dimensional, two-dimensional structures. This one in particular, which I've chosen, grows these spirals in this spiral form, which we call supracellular structures. And how it does that, here you can see, it's almost like an organic collaboration I've had with this bioorganism, with this living organism. It supplies the color, it supplies this beautiful, intricate design, which I wouldn't have been able to create. Which makes me think, I wonder if involving AI, maybe you can kind of develop structures and form what you want. But that's something else. So you can see here the filaments move around within a transparent sheath. They've got pores within the algae that emit this kind of mucus, and with the agar, it restricts the movement of this algae in total, creating these spiral shapes, or these spiral formations. So I don't know if anyone's used a very powerful microscope before. This is the Keynotes, and this was my first time working with such a machine. You can see the intricacy, how beautiful this algae is, which gives you a different layer, different relationship to this bacteria. And I'll pick up on this quite a bit, this idea of being able to use your craft and your lens to translate scientific data to a world that we understand. So remembering I'm from a fashion background, how would my world truly digest microscopic images or data from science? So this is in its aquatic form, and you can still see the spirals, but ultimately it gives you a biofilm. Here is one of the final samples where you can see the vibrant green stays, the spirals stay. When it's dehydrated, you still see the supracellular structure that remains, leaving this beautiful biomaterial. So this cyanobacteria has given me a distinct color, unique spiral formation, which I would say is a successful collaboration with a living organism. Again, there needs to be a focus on design gear specifically for short-term use, made from nature to be experienced in nature. This is the introductory piece I designed for ALGEAR. You can't go wrong with a multi-purpose tarp, right? This project contributes to the importance of the leave no trace code. through growing a material that naturally biodegrades and nourishes the land you leave it on. For a while, my main issue was trying to find a way to make this material survive longer. I was trying to work on chemicals in order to keep the algae green for longer, keep the biofilm structure holding together for way longer. But when working with living organisms, in this case algae, you have to respect their different stages of life, when they grow, when they live, and when they decompose. And I came up with this grown to order process where you would come to me, say, I'm going camping for 3 days, maybe in September. I'd estimate how long it takes to grow. You take it with you, you use it, you leave it there in the mountain, it biodegrades and renourishes the soil. So I want to emphasize this importance of shifting our relationship with product, shifting consumers' relationship with product, something you have to wait for, something that you don't hold on to. You let go, you accept its different stages of life. And I would like to play you a film that I created that serves as context towards ALGEAR.
ALGEAR, a bio-alternative to constructing outdoor gear. There is a need for gear designed for short-term use. ALGEAR introduces a future where artifacts that protect us from the elements are produced with organisms abundant to us. At the end of the algae's life, it biodegrades seamlessly, allowing for a lighter descent while nourishing the land you're leaving behind. Cyanobacteria, blue-green microalgae with photosynthetic abilities, growing from little more than air and sunlight. Filamentous strains with intelligent self-weaving activity, creating supracellular structures through their spiral formations. ALGEAR, made made by nature to be used in nature.
Thank you. But I just want to reiterate, this project scratches the surface of this material. Really, it's about the process, this grown to order process, this shifting our relationship with product. Up to now, the focus has been supply and demand. We need to shift towards the supply and how we can use the supplies that we have access to for the maximum effect. By doing so, we create product that meets certain demands rather than creating product for product's sake. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for coming. Thank you to London Design Festival. Thank you, Jesper. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Fascinating. Grown to order. I'm already thinking a lot of new innovations there. I think one of the challenges I've encountered when we also discuss sustainability and sustainable designs is that it seems to be a very big issue, right? It's a macro issue. It's hard for maybe people to relate to in the micro. And storytelling seems to be a great way to do that. How do we tell more engaging stories through design and so on?
From my experience, I always find being a designer, we have the power to translate data in a way that our world, my world being fashion, can easily absorb and can digest this information. And I say this a lot through diversifying your community, that's reaching out to different craftsmen. What I mean by different craftsmen, experts in their field, and that's scientists, that's engineers, that's whoever you are, whatever field that you're exploring, that you're excited about, reach out and expand your community. Because ultimately that allows your concepts to feel fresh in our industry, but also you bring this newness to both worlds. And I think through this project, I accepted that I wasn't the scientist. I was the designer translating this data to information for my world. And personal experience. Get out there and really bring your language, your design DNA to a world that you feel isn't for you, but really it's open to everyone. I think that's the beauty of it.
And mentioning everyone, I think it's clear no one can do anything alone, right? We have to do it together. What collaborations really matter in scaling sustainable designs, in your view?
So the hardest question, but it's exciting. I want to move away from this pocket collaboration system that we've got right now and move towards long-term collaborations, whether that's with material innovation or startups, and really build with these designers and these creatives to build something new in the long term. And again, I'm bringing it back to fashion. But internally, if the investment is not within a sustainable brief, they are just looking at what the trend forecasters are bringing to the table. And it's frustrating when they have a sustainable quota and want to just last minute switch things to recycled material. And although it's a great, it's a great component, recycling, but recycling begins at the end. And I think we need to move towards designing from the offset, from the beginning, from something that could be repaired, remanufactured, reused from the beginning, and that should be the process up to the end. And I think once these companies with money, especially in fashion, can realize that, we can start to see this trickle effect moving a bit faster.
And I think speaking about the trickle effect, we work a lot with some of the scalable companies here, and I think one of the things I think is important is the collaboration on the standards to really kind of translate and propagate to get that trickle effect running and ensuring that you are not having to move to some last minute adjustments for some other area, as you're mentioning. I wonder if there's any questions in the audience.
Okay, hi, thank you for the brilliant talk. I'm a textile student, so I would like to ask a question. Like, I see that the sort of textile you created can be used in, let's say, building a tent, but can it be used to make something wearable, like a garment or something? That's what I'm interested in. Thank you.
No, that's fine. That's the first point I was exploring, was clothing. And I was exploring, I don't know how much I can give away, but ultimately creating a skeleton that you could grow this material on. But because this MA is very restrictive of time, I only scratched the surface. And using a flat surface to grow this material on was the easiest, and I was kind of, the main reason why I went for the tarp, you can really use whatever shape's kind of the most simplest shape. I would believe, yes, we can use this material for clothing, and it's something that I was talking with, there's a scientist up north, and he's working on the alternative to Gore-Tex. But that's going to take a few years. It's more about how do you make it waterproof, how do you make it breathable. So there's something quite beautiful about simplifying things and just going for a tarp that just keeps you dry.
I think we have time for one more question.
Hi, thank you for the talk. I was wondering what ends up being the fabric composition with the tent. So if there is any other materials that you have to integrate it with, any plastic, or ends up just being fully natural?
Just fully cyanobacteria.
Right.
The base at which you've seen, again, scratching the surface, that's just ALGEAR. So really, I want to move away from that, being able to move the algae off the ALGEAR and just growing the algae. I think the whole point of making it biodegradable is also considering the ropes. It's considering all the elements of the tarp, and for this project, it was more just, they all have different times at which they biodegrade. But for the material itself, just purely algae.
Thank you.
I think with that absolutely fascinating speech and example of sustainable innovation and design, let's give Randa a huge hand.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.